Howdy Gamers. So a few weeks ago I did a poll on what game I should take a look at next while I sit in my little depressive slump. And not to my surprise, Darkwood was the game you guys wanted me to take a look at next. Darkwood is a game made by Acid Wizard Studios, a cool name, and a group of devs who have probably given me the most nightmares. Darkwood, when it was making its rounds a few years back, was known for its lack of jump scares. Keep in mind, this game was fully released back in like 2017, among other games that were starting to get old with you know. Darkwood has this reputation for a reason. It's a masterclass of atmosphere and tension, from its visuals to the sound to the gameplay, and yes, it does it without the jump scares. The game starts off with a narration from what we assume is the main character. It's your basic cookie-cutter, depressing European games. There's a disease, we're all doomed, we're all dying, yada yada yada, you get the idea. Looking around the house, you find out that you're a doctor, but I'm starting to suspect that something isn't quite right in his old brain space.
Are we the baddies?
While leaving the hideout to get some gas, you find a man in a yellow hat. He has a key to what we assume is the exit. Of course, we need him to tell us where it is first. Oh, we're the man in the yellow hat. I really hope I don't have to deal with a certain monkey. After finding and dealing with the doctor, the hideout is overrun with these things. We are saved by a man in a hazmat suit, and the game begins. Yeah, this is pretty cookie-cutter stuff for a depressing European game. What was that noise? Oh, well, that's depressing.
Sometimes it's best to keep your mouth closed, you see.
On a technical level, it might not seem too impressive or spooky. I imagine that people who haven't heard this game might be a little confused when they see actual gameplay. Oh, it's from a top-down perspective? It's a funny pixel game? How is this twin-stick shooter supposed to be the scary game I've been hearing so much about? Well, my sweet, stupid summer child, it's all in the presentation. While it is 2D, it does have some cool effects with 3D as well. Look at the trees and how the shadows give an impression of a big old trunk. And these utility poles. These broke my brain for a moment and made me wonder if this was a 3D game disguised as a 2D game. What secrets do you hold? This game remains one of the most horrifying I've played, due to a couple of things, but one of the things that stood out to me was the design of its enemies and other characters. Deeply disturbing is how I would describe them, with a healthy helping of unsettling. And it's not only the designs of the creatures that are unsettling, it's the designs of the NPCs that also give me the chills. Like, Jesus Christ.
Holy God, what are you showing me? His head. Come on!
The animations for them are pretty uncanny, and the NPCs are more like characters from a fairy tale. They all have these titles instead of actual names. The Wolfman, the Musician, the Chicken Lady, the Doctor, Peter. Even yourself, you're often referred to as the Stranger. There's this sort of dark, fantastical feeling to this game, like one of those stories your babushka told you when you were young and afraid of everything, to make you afraid of even more things. But coming back to the visuals, the animations for your character are pretty good, along with the color. Although I will say the game does look very depressing, it does make certain colors pop when they do show up, like blood. There's a lot of blood in this game. I also really like pixel art, so I might just be a bit biased here. Although a lot of people might have a hard time with the perspective to notice these things. The game has a top-down perspective that limits your vision to the direction you're facing in this cone. This might make things difficult to play and difficult to understand why people, including myself, find this game terrifying. Walking around in the forest is unsettling since you can't see what's around you at all times, and there can be anything around the corner. It's even worse when you can't see what's behind you. You'll be whipping around at every noise, and while you're freaking out, you might step on a trap, or a bed of poisonous mushrooms. This game rewards you for being attentive, but that should be saved for the gameplay talk. Speaking of being attentive, the enemies can move stuff. As for the environments, it's mostly trees and grass. you can be surrounded with woods at certain points. It not only makes it harder to move through an area, but it also disrupts your vision, making it easy to step on a bed of poisonous mushrooms. Or a bear trap if you're not careful. Hell, sometimes enemies will just be chilling in the trees waiting for some poor soul to get caught in there. Like me. The tasty morsel that I am, I know they want me. That sounded weird. Hold on, wait.
No drums at all. You know what I mean? Just how I'm feeling.
Sound design is important in a horror game. Really quick, let's do an experiment. Let's play Amnesia: The Dark Descent without the sound and see how scary it is.
Sound is important in horror games. I'm gonna turn off the sound. We're just gonna see what happens. Bam, bam. I don't think there's anything here. I can't, like, see anything. Oh, hey.
Now, what I want you to take away from that isn't that horror games need sound, but that good sound design can dramatically change how you play the game. This ties into Darkwood, where you can hear everything. The creak of the floorboards, the grunts of the savages, and, yeah. This also ties into the perspective. Not being able to see what's around you means that you need to use your ears and soak up all the knowledge the sound waves are giving you. You feel me? Sorry if I'm talking a bit weird. It's been 3 weeks without internet. Without Tootsie Caramel Apple Pops. Not being able to see what's around you makes you jump at almost every sound, because every sound might have a source. Different enemies will produce different noises. These noises give me nightmares. Especially the music. There are some real bangers here. Okay, maybe not in the traditional sense of the word. Darkwood has this way of weaving horror into beauty that I rarely see other games do. When you're having a particularly difficult night and the tension gives way to this slowly growing tone that ends in this grand relief, leaving you with this kind of melancholy music. It kind of reminds me of the Resident Evil 4 safe rooms. Trust me, you're gonna have the biggest sigh of relief when you hear that sound. Final thoughts, though? Sound good. Moving on. Let's start off the gameplay section with the movement. It's clunky. A little bit. Most of your movement needs to be deliberate, since all of your actions are slow. Attacking, slow. Vaulting, slow. Looting, it's a It's slow. This makes combat tedious, but in a good way. Most attacks require a wind-up to actually, hit the enemy. You can also do a light attack coupled with a dodge. All of this requires stamina to use. Combat requires careful management of this stamina. That's right, folks. You heard me. This is quite possibly the Dark Souls of horror. This combat keeps the game tense at first, but once you get a handle on it, you can kick some ass. Speaking of ass kickings, after multiple playthroughs, the game can get a bit predictable, but this isn't necessarily a bad thing. If anything, for me, it was nice to be able to just, fuck up the people who scared you in the first place. Other than your weapons, you have perks that you can use as well. Perks are obtained by finding cookable items and bringing them to your oven. There is a wide variety of perks at your disposal that require you to pick a downside along with them. Learning your current position on the map, scaring off nearby enemies, being able to see all around you, and trust me, the perks are worth the downsides. These are really useful, especially if you're struggling, so be sure to pick up those tasty shrooms.
Oh! I didn't think that's what it did! Oh, fuck! Christ!
Gameplay outside of combat, however, is split into two forms: the day and the night. Daytime is mostly spent looting the buildings that are scattered around each area and completing tasks for the NPCs scattered around the forest. And early on, it's a stressful endeavor. Every day is spent running back and forth from place to place and back to your hideout. And with how limited your inventory is at the start, you're gonna be doing a lot of running back and forth, all while you discover more and more cursed places. The map is split into 3 zones at the start. Each zone has its own respective hideout. Your hideout is your safe haven from the night. It's the only place where you'll actually be safe from this thing. Yeah, I don't know exactly what that thing is, but this isn't an eroge. This is a haunted Polish forest, so stay indoors.
The fuck?
By the way, the map and the locations are random for each playthrough. All the buildings will be the same in each area, but the locations and orientation are usually changed around a bit. Nighttime, however, is a different story. No. I'm not coming to you. Oh, no, I don't want to go. I don't want to go over there. At night, you are on the defensive. Barricading yourself from the dangers of the night is your only solution. Trapping entrances, finding ways to defend yourself from, well, a lot of things. The nights, for me, are the highlight of Darkwood. Each night feels unique and brings either new threats or a different mix of ones you've dealt with previously. Sometimes, nothing happens. Well, inside the hideout at least. These are the spookiest of nights. Sometimes the night will give you a gift. Sometimes it sends human spiders to kill you. You can never predict what might happen, but you can prepare. Bear traps and broken glass can be laid on the ground to, dissuade enemies from entering your lovely abode. Treat your home like those rat tunnels in Vietnam. Trap it, create choke points, use what you have against them, and you might just come out alive. If that doesn't work, then we have other means. Guns are part of your arsenal that are powerful but difficult to use. Once you get your hands on one, it seems like you finally have an edge, being able to keep your enemies at range. But these guns have a cone of fire that encourages you to get close with them. You don't want to waste bullets, do you? They are quite expensive. Eventually, you will run into more difficult enemies to even the odds. This doesn't mean that they aren't extremely helpful, especially the shotgun, which I love. Most upgrades are like this. Your melee weapons are similar, with stronger options being tempered with more expensive requirements for upgrades and repairs. But whether it's guns or other weapons, you grow stronger, but so does the enemy. To sum it up, gameplay is satisfying and unforgiving, but in a good way.
Where's he at? Come here. Bitch.
In terms of story, this game is mysterious, and yet there is an answer for everything. Have you guys ever heard of the movie Annihilation? Yeah, this game is kind of like that, but it has less to do with prisms and more to do with trees copying living things. Although I won't get into the story too much, since I wanted to keep myself out of the know. Makes things scarier that way. Looking for lore can be fun, but this game doesn't really need good lore for me. Something happened in the forest went wacko. That's it. That's all I need to know. But maybe that's not enough for you. That's fine. Personally, I don't find lore all too interesting, especially when it explains the creepy things you find. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure that there are other people who are willing to tear this game apart looking for lore and answers to questions, but I'm satisfied with the questions I have from this game. And what I've gleaned from it is, well, shit's just fucked.
I'm so unstoppable.
Thanks for watching, dudes and dudettes. Sorry for the lack of uploads. As I've said in the post I made, I have been feeling unmotivated lately, so I wanted to apologize for the silence on my part. I'll try to do better in the future. If you want to join me in streams or post some cool stuff in the Discord, one will be in the description, and the other will happen on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Either way, thanks for watching, and as always, take care.